please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Today is August 12th, 2019. Roll call.
Missouri? Here. Basil?
Here.
Whaling?
Here.
Caprows?
Here.
Meyer?
Here.
Kraus?
Here. We have the minutes of July 15th, 2019. Is there any corrections or changes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
So motion made and there is a second. Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Missouri? Yes. Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Abstain.
Caprows?
Abstain.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
Anyone from the audience wish to address the board? Okay, the village commission, beautification commission. Matt, do you have anything from them?
We got a meeting tomorrow night. I know we're going to be discussing that memorial bench for the late Paul Lohman. So I think we're trying to do a ceremony in October, but hopefully next month I'll have a little more on that.
Fourth of July commission, trustee Meyer.
Not much to report yet. We have a meeting coming up Wednesday at 6:30 here at Village Hall.
Youth commission, trustee Missouri.
Nothing to report this time. As always, our next meeting is the third Wednesday of every month. It'll be here at the Village Hall at 7:30 p.m.
Historic preservation commission, trustee Wood.
We did not have a meeting in July. We have a meeting scheduled for August 21st, 6 o'clock. To be
Trustee Beecher.
Donna, treasurer's report?
The total in the village accounts for the end of July, $2,868,060.47. The total in the commission accounts, $200,274.60. The total of all accounts combined, $3,068,335.07. Total in the general account, $700,186.21. The total interest for the month of July, you can see it's still 2%, $5,518.39, which puts us at a fiscal year to date $15,371.40. The total of the commission non-AP payments for the month of July, $350,357.03. And that ends my report.
A lot of them were 4th of July.
Yes, yeah. That was $119,490.81 for
And just 4th of July.
just 4th of July.
Any questions about the treasurer's report? If not, I'd like to make a motion approving the treasurer's report and the report of financial activity for the prior month.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri? Yes.
Variance reports for the preceding month are enclosed for your review. Any questions on those? If not, approval of the bills for the prior month. Everyone got the bills out last week. There's some added items on Becker's Automotive, Consultation Energy, Godey Locks.
The question on that bill came in today, is that for the stage doors? Is that what that?
Goldilocks?
Yeah, the $149.
No, that was for a padlock for the new building, for the gate.
Okay, so what I have there is wrong. I guess
Yes,
this afternoon is what it was.
What's it supposed to be, Bob?
It's for a padlock for 533, probably for their gate on the outside.
I also wanted to note, I forgot to email out the board members a copy of the credit card receipts. I was able to make one copy, which I gave to trustee Kraus if you would like to see it tonight. Otherwise, I quickly emailed it out to all of you, so you can take a look at it.
HR Green for the Quiet Zone Engineering. Art Whaling. spreading.
Just a note on that one, that's a huge bill. That's 2 years of sludge we had at the sewer plant, we didn't haul last year. So we budget 14.4 a year, and you can see we hauled 26.6, so that's 2 years of sludge.
Sanders Service came in late, or today. Sickage auditing fee, I believe that's about it. Are there any questions on the bills? If not, I'd like to make a motion approving the bills for the prior month for $202,186.34.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil? Wheeling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
All right, consider a revised investment policy. At the last meeting, a proposed draft of the resolution was presented, but was tabled to this meeting. The revised draft removes the requirement that financial institution must have a physical presence in the village. This broadens the number of options the village treasurer to pursue investments options. So, did everyone get a chance to read that? It was pretty good. I mean, so, resolution
2019-08.
2019-08. So I'd like to consider, or I'd like to make a resolution number 2019-08 to revise the investment policy.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Wheeling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes,
Missouri?
Yes.
that ends my report.
Thank you. At the appointments of every year, we fail to appoint the actual police commission for the hiring practices of the police department officers, police officers in the village. If someone would like to make a motion appointing, confirming my appointment of Joe Terry, Scott Wood, and Todd Kraus to the commission.
So moved.
The motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Wheeling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
And that should be on the appointments every year from there on out, we just failed to put it on there. Interesting first, and
All right, consider a development agreement with Dutch American Foods regarding the use of TIF incentives. The ad hoc committee has been meeting with Dutch American regarding the building of an 18,000 square foot industrial building on one of the vacant lots in the business park. Everyone's got a copy of the agreement. We sat down, twice, so that way everybody knows how the process in which we did this. First thing we did was, myself and trustee Meyer and Administrator Barber sat down with Art and Artie Van Buren of Dutch American. They presented us a list of things that they believed that would be TIF eligible. They went over the building, the size of the building, what they were gonna be doing with the building. We explained to them that this was our first one, that we wanted to take a little time, and think this through. We then presented the list to our village planners to make sure what was eligible. We did some research, typically, it's about, through these TIF incentive packages, usually it's around the 15 to 20%. We wanted to come in at the high end, at about 20% for them, with this being the first one, and to encourage more people to come to us with this. We then received information back and a list of everything that is TIF eligible from our village planners. And me and Marcy sat back down with them again, and we came to an agreement that the Van Burens agreed with, that we thought would be something good for both ends. What we did was, the building is gonna be approximately $1 million. On the 20% end, on that TIF incentive, we wanted to come up with a number of close to 200,000. Of that 200,000, there's we used a Rispin Seeds building in the same industrial park as a, estimate for what the increment could be. Currently, the taxes received on that property, so that is the base for the TIF, is $2,500. This is gonna be probably guessing, using Rispin Seeds, somewhere $25,000 or more, $25,000 to $30,000. At the end of the day, we came up with a list of everything, and then we looked to see what we could do in-house to take some of the burden away from the TIF fund. Of that, we came up with, I believe it was about $31,000 worth of things, which is just waiving the tap-ins, building permits, paying for ourselves out of pocket for the Baxter and Woodman, which left about $170,000 in the TIF fund. So the plan is we explained it to the Van Barens. What we'd like to do is, it's a 23-year TIF. What we'd like to do is repay them 100% of the increment until the $170,000 obligation is met. We're estimating that'll take about 8 years, which will then leave us about 15 years of that increment adding into the TIF fund, which is what it's supposed to do. I think the conversation went well. Van Barens are happy with it. Me and Marcy were happy with it. So I guess it's just up to the rest of the board. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on the process?
And they, of course, will be bringing in receipts for everything that they do according to this list. Some things may be a little lower, some things may be a little higher, but they're gonna provide receipts as things are done, so that, you know, we have a paper trail of everything that was expended.
I guess for people who don't know, is there just a quick way for either one of you to explain what the benefit of doing this is, since we have created this TIF? What's the benefit to the village of doing something like this?
Well, the benefit to the board would be that it's, in the long run, right, we all said that this is a long process with the TIF fund. But at the end of the day, if this is $1 million building, it's gonna add $333,000 to the total EAV. The more you add to the total EAV, the easier the burden becomes amongst the rest of the taxpayers existing right now.
And I believe Art was saying that if they can get some storage into this building, they can actually put up 2 more lines in the other building, you know, ultimately down the road, which could come up to about 20 to 25 new jobs.
Right. I can say something, the building we're building isn't gonna give many jobs, 2 or 3 to run it. But it creates, like she said, we're gonna put 2 new runners in and 2 new packaging lines, because we'll free up all the space. We're gonna put all our packaging supplies that we currently store in the plant, in that new plant, or warehouse, with freeing up space. Instead of storing, I can manufacture, which we wanna do.
Mm-hmm.
So bring in 2 more lines, 2 more packaging lines, or blenders and 2 packaging lines. That's gonna create about 20 jobs over the next 1.5 to 2 years. So, and I'm here to answer, of course, anybody has a question for you to ask me. That's why I came tonight.
No, I think it's a good idea. I just wanted, for people that aren't too familiar with it, what the actual economic benefit to the village doing something like this is. It's the start of economic engine to help try to get some growth going in this area and alleviate some of the tax burden on the residents.
And like you said, Marcy, these aren't hard figures on this.
Some of it is estimated, but, you know, we've got room to be able to go back and forth to come up, you know, we've committed to that 170,000 figure, so.
What we did was we left, which is eligible, the land purchase, which was one of the biggest things. We left that at the bottom, and then, which to get to the 170, I think there's only $3,000 there. We've got an appraisal for, I believe it was $90,000 for that property. So anything extra that where it falls short will just increase what we can reimburse them for the land. So say take anything, say it comes in $5,000 less than what the estimate is there, we could just add the $5,000 then onto the land purchase to make sure that we get to the 170 mark.
As you can see, the village ate 30 grand of it before we dipped into the tip fund.
Which helps, you know, them with their upfront charges too, so that some of those things they don't have to come up with upfront, we're gonna kind of absorb that at our end.
That's just, but that 30,000 is just stuff we won't collect, it's not stuff we're.
That's
We're
correct,
not
but under a
correct.
typical scenario, you could have
Yes. Yeah.
collected that.
Yep,
So we're not paying it, we're just not collecting.
yep.
Yeah, you're only out of pocket on that 30 grand is probably your Baxter and Woodman review fee.
Yeah.
But remember, and the building permit.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion approving a development agreement with Dutch American Foods regarding the use of TIF incentives.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Point of order, it's an ordinance, so keep words. It's an ordinance authorizing.
Okay. You got a number?
1312.
So I'll make a motion approving ordinance number 1312, which is the development agreement with Dutch American Foods regarding the use of TIF incentives.
Okay, there was a motion and there was a second.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Excuse me, Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Mazer?
Yes.
And they just paid to pay the committee a compliment. I know I was in some of the conversations afterward, and I'm sure you guys did a good job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Buren, thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll have signed ones for you.
Can I just say something, make a statement, half a minute?
All right.
I came to Beecher in 1999, looking for a home for a company which was growing at the time. We had 6,000 feet of rented space in Dalton, Illinois. It was really a hole in the wall, it's just part of another building. And Beecher welcomed me with open arms. We had to finagle a little bit to make it work. That's how the industrial park actually came in existence. I didn't need to build the industrial park, I needed a plant, but in order to do it, we decided to go to the industrial park. Built that, and I had, the original building was 30,000 feet, and I put on 3 additions to it. We have about 140 some thousand, I believe. I might be wrong on the roof. We came here with 7 jobs. We now have 175 maybe in this plant, an additional 20 coming, so it'll be about 200 jobs that we brought to the village, which I think is a good thing. All I can say is through the course of the 20 years, it's been nothing but good things. I've never had any issues with the town, and you dealt with me fairly. So I think it's been good for all of us. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the village for what you did for me tonight. Capital, every business needs capital, and this helps. And for what you did to me over the last 20 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Missouri.
Thank you. Consider a request to convert 3 townhome lots from 2-story with basements to ranch style on slab Prairie Park subdivision. Castletown Homes believes there is a market for this style of townhome and wishes to convert the last 3 townhome lots they have left ranch style on the slab. Since this is a minor modification of the PUD, they will be at the meeting asking for the board to approve this request.
So this would be, how many units in total we talked about here, like three unit
I think
buildings?
there's, it's either 8 or 7.
7 or 8?
It's 7 or 8, yeah.
Would be range style.
It's either 2 3s and a 2, or 2 2s and 1 3. I
Okay.
got that thing this morning.
And how many bedrooms are these ranches?
The ranches are 2.
2
And
bedrooms.
2 stories are 3. So this might not apply to 2 stories, it might only apply to the ranch things.
Yeah.
And, we've had 8 ranch units right there now, and half of them said they have no use for the basement. The only reason I got them down there is to look at the furnace filter, and when it rains, see if the sump pump is on. But they don't like going down there, so.
These are basically marketed to seniors, is that correct? That's who's buying these products?
What's that?
Seniors? Are seniors have a big market on these products?
Just about all of them except maybe one. Right?
When, do-
Yeah,
were purchased by seniors.
Right, yeah.
I don't have a problem with this. I mean, it's fitting the market niche that Beecher seems to have. At one time, we were demanding half basements on these townhomes just to improve, I guess, the value. But seniors don't want basements, you know.
Is there anything that says they can't do slab homes over there?
In his subdivision, no. But I think out of respect to the community, Mike's in here asking for
Yeah,
permission
the house,
because
the
it
house
was an
will always
issue.
have basements, we sold that 22 more of those ago, but just the last 3 townhouse units, so. I think he's thinking about starting at least one building. Because, well, Chris Cornell lives right across the street there, and him and his neighbor have been saying, friends of theirs have been asking about, thinking both of them said, well, they had no use for a basement. So, if we can price it out for them and everything and see how it goes, we might have to make one, if not both sold. So, we are getting a little interest over there now, so hopefully the prices go up. For everybody.
I don't see a problem with it if they're not going as is right now, and this
Right,
is
just
possibly a
just the last
profitable
3.
market.
And the 2-story, it might not be feasible for the 2-story because trying to put the furnace, the water heater in an area of what we have right now, it just might not work. So we might have to stay with the original plan for that. So we'll see how that goes.
I make a motion to consider a request to convert 3 townhome lots from 2-story with basement to ranch style on a slab in Prairie Park subdivision.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any question? Roll call.
Ms. Zerich?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
And we appreciate the fact that you're building in town.
There you go, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your business, Mike.
You want to go see tomorrow night? Tomorrow, see tomorrow night. Scott, we'll see you tomorrow night. Frank, hope to see you out there sometime this year. So, all right, have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Trustee Burrs.
Consider authorizing payment in the amount of $684,986 to IHC pending receipt of IEPA loan funds. Enclosed it would be for invoice number 9. I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment in the amount of $684,986 to IHC pending receipt of IEPA loan funds.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second, any question? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Ms. Zerich?
Yes.
Consider authorizing payment in the amount of $30,806.54 to Baxter Movement Engineers for a progress payment on the wastewater treatment plant construction management upon receipt of IEPA loan funds. I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment in the amount of $30,806.54 to Baxter Movement Engineers for a progress payment on the wastewater treatment plant construction management upon receipt of IEPA loan funds.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second, any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Zerich?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
Consider approval of a proposal to install concrete ramps for the new building at 533 Reed Street. There's a little bit left over funds on the account for this project. Matt explained to me the situation where they're having a hard time. They can't get with the elevation of that ramp existing, getting the trailers in, it's basically bottoming out. So something needs to be done. We've got a proposal from Perino Brothers who does all the, they got the award for all the sidewalk repairs and curb repairs in the village. That came in at an amount of $10,000. $4,000 remains in this account. So basically he's looking at another $6,000 for the account. He's got it within the budget. So I don't know if we really needed to do this, but with it being more than what was originally planned for Reed Street, we figured we'd bring it to the entire board for authorization. The rest of the money's just gonna come out of his existing budget from streets, I believe.
And those numbers are actually flip-flopped. I have
It's 4 and 6.
I have 6 remaining and 4
$4,000
that I need to,
Oh, you have 6 remaining?
Yeah.
Okay.
so a little better numbers.
Yeah. And the money he's getting from, we got lucky on the ComEd conversion project. They went ahead and put the 110 outlets back on the poles for us. And we thought they wouldn't do that. So I'd say there's a lot of money in electric install.
So, it's basically there, it's coming out of streets. So I'll go ahead and make a motion approving, proposal to install concrete ramps for the new building at 533 Reed Street, in the amount of $10,000 to Perino Brothers.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Last thing, consider a proposal for the patching of village streets due to water main repairs, quality paving in the amount of $6,348. Two proposals are received, they are enclosed for your review. So, I'm gonna go ahead and, it's basic, it's gotta be done. Consider a motion, or I will make a motion approving the proposal for the patching of the village streets due to water main repairs, to quality paving in the amount of $6,348.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any questions?
I'll just make a statement on that. We've obviously continued to have multiple main breaks since we got this proposal. That number will be rising when he's actually here doing the work. We're just gonna do on-site change orders with this company while they're here. So, at this time, I don't know where we're gonna end up, but like Trustee Capurro said, the patches in the road have to be done, so, we're,
Unfortunately, one of them was on Gould Street.
yeah. Just Saturday afternoon,
Yes. Missouri.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Wheeling.
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Any old business to come before the board? Under new business, there was a discussion the other day that sort of fell in line with the Mr. Van Buren's discussion. Some ideas were thrown out on what's listed here in our agenda tonight, what Trustee Capurro explained.
So when we were sitting there at the end of the last meeting with the Van Burens, is, one, myself and then this whole board should be ecstatic that, I mean, we've got this TIF fund in place and already we're seeing, it's reaping rewards, right? We've got people that come in and actually, invest in the community. We truly believe that wouldn't have happened, if it weren't for the TIF fund. That company just built another plant in Crete. I mean, they came to us, we had the TIF fund, and I think that created an opportunity for us, by us having that. In talks with it afterwards is, I brought up the fact that, residential came up, and I said, and it was kind of in response to the email that Administrator Barber sent out about Nantucket Cove being for sale again, 114 lots for $975,000. And that basically puts the price per lot under $9,000, it's like 8,000. Yeah, 8,000 and change. And what I've seen in my travels from work is you have growth happening in Manhattan. Again, you have growth happening in Matson, Illinois. A subdivision right there on 57 in Walmer has been built out in the last 2 years. That was a vacant subdivision. New subdivisions are constantly going up in Homer Glen, Lamont, Orland area, Lenox, Frankfurt. And I understand some of these communities don't have the opposition that we have being so close to Indiana. But a couple of years ago, Trustee Meyer and myself came up with an incentive package and to try to see if that would make some changes, offering the little bit of $3 in the water bill and trying to reduce some things there. And that really hasn't done it. So I thought that it's time to possibly get a little drastic. We've seen over the last 10 years, this village has averaged about 6.6 new homes per year, where I've seen subdivisions get fully built out with hundreds of homes in a matter of 2 years. And they're not far from us. They're right in Cook County, where residential tax rates in Cook County are at a disadvantage versus what we offer here. We do have that battle with Indiana, but as a marketing tip, my thought was, with that sale of those lots is, as a builder, when they look at doing this, you have three phases, right? You have, what are your pre-construction costs, which would be building permits, architecture fees, so on and so forth. What's it gonna cost that builder to put a shovel in the ground, okay? I know through us that it costs about anywhere from $12,000 to $14,000 to put a shovel in the ground, not to mention the rest of their costs and architect fees and having the house drawn and surveys and lot prices and everything else. The second part that a builder is gonna look at is their actual construction costs, which is their labor and their materials. We have no control in that. All right, and last thing for them is profit and overhead. We have no control over that. Those three things all come together, and that's what's gonna dictate what they can build a house for a sale price. What their actual bottom line is to what they can take for that home. Out of all those things, we cannot do a darn thing about any of them except for the one. And that's when it costs the builder $14,000 to put a shovel in the ground in the village of Beecher. So my radical thought was, and with Marcy's we threw it around, is what if we could actually sit there and we could convince the school district to give up their impact fees, and we give up our tap-in fees, park impact fees, and if anything, eat a couple $100 to where we could advertise, you could put a shovel in the ground in the village of Beecher for a flat fee, no matter what size the house is, for $1,000, which would cover the building permit. Would that spur growth? That would save a builder on average about $11,000 to $13,000 per lot. That's the last thing we can do to control anything as far as residential growth here.
Would you put a time frame in here? You know, give any type of incentive to get it done within a certain period of time?
So my thoughts on that, Scott, and that's a good question, is I thought is that if you do this, it would have to be village-wide. But if you use this as a marketing tool for the sales of Nantucket Cove, it would have to be forever on the Nantucket Cove lots, on those 114 lots. And then maybe you put a moratorium on it for 3 years and you reevaluate it on the rest of them, which would cover like the preserves, any vacant lots throughout Hunter's Chase. It would cover Hunter's Chase East. It would cover Prairie Park. It would cover basically any Prairie Crossings South. You know, we all kind of have campaigned before, right? Smart development, and we gotta fill existing lots. We gotta do it. 6.6 homes a year isn't doing it over 10 years. So yeah, I think you'd probably have to put some sort of time frame on it. But I think if you advertise it and you let the bank know that, as far as for the marketing for Nantucket Cove, I don't think you could really put a time on those. Those you'd have to say, okay, we're gonna do these 114 lots. If it takes, 20 years to build them, it takes 20 years. But mind you, like on what we're giving up, we're giving up tap-in fees. We got the service lines ran, right? I mean, that's their cost to tap into our mains. Our mains are sitting there, they're stagnant. If anything, it's gonna help our infrastructure. The more tap-ins we get onto these lines and with the looping of our water system and getting water flowing into these houses and off these mains, it's a benefit to the infrastructure on that. Park fees, which you've been here longer than me, from what I understand it, I mean, we paid off that Oslake grant, what, like 3-4 years ago? I mean, that was the main purpose of those park fees, wasn't it? Like to use those funds to pay the Oslake grant?
Well, it was not only for the Oslake grant, it's for continued growth in the parks, and the buildings and things like that. So I don't think it was specifically for Oslake, it was just an ongoing thing.
I don't think the fees pay off Oslet, I think we just had to pay off Oslet if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yeah, we did that. I mean, it was $190-something thousand,
Yeah.
right, which,
But we,
I mean,
do
but-
the park fee to get some of that
but,
money.
but the part, but what I'm getting at is, those park fees would be going, had we not did what we did, right? We ate it out of general, I remember when we did that, I think Marcy was even on the board at the time. You know, and when we did that, I mean, we said, okay, we're gonna bite the bullet, we're gonna get rid of this due-to. But at the same time, those park fees, had we not done it, those park fees are just going to that anyway. So, as far as it being, how much it's impacting us by doing this isn't a lot. I think the one that it could impact is the school. You know, the school losing their impact fees. But I think at the end of the day, as a village, we have a responsibility to the village where, I think, in my opinion, and I've thought about this a lot, and I've crunched numbers, and I'm a numbers guy. At the end of the day, without speaking on behalf of the school board and knowing their true finances in and out, but from what I've seen, I still believe that adding to the total EAV, adding rooftops to this area will benefit the school district more than the impact fees they'll get. Because at the end of the day, nothing is still nothing if you don't get anything, right? If you're not getting anything now, and you continue to get nothing in the future, it's still nothing. If you maybe take a little bit of a hit now, up front, but you have that perpetual income coming in off of those property taxes, off these rooftops that this could generate, right? And if it doesn't work, right, what do we lose? Nothing. We had nothing to begin with. I mean, I truly believe this, and for what it's worth is, and I've talked with other trustees about this and that, and I truly feel this way, that the next probably 4 to 8 years in this village will dictate the next 100. As far as what kind of growth we get, commercial, what happens around us, with the possibility with the airport and other things, and you know, are we gonna be stuck reacting, or are we gonna try to be progressive and be ahead of it? And I don't know, that's my thoughts on it, so.
Well, the school impact fee is what, 2,500?
No,
What is it, how much do you get
it
from?
depends, which,
I don't.
by the way, the school impact fee, there is a,
They make that in 1 year on one house.
Yeah.
With their chunk of the tax bill. You know what I mean? That's something you make back, and then every year after that, you're making a profit.
there's an
It isn't there on a vacant lot.
yeah, there's an ordinance in the village that allows them to do this. So it's our ordinance that even allows them to do this. It's $3,400 for a 3-bedroom home, which is primarily what is being built in most of these subdivisions. For an attached single family, which would be like a townhouse, what we just approved with Castletown, it's $2,500. Even if you take the high end at 3,500 times 6.6, right? 3,500 times 6.6 per year. It's $23,000 a year we're getting on average. Based on what I'm looking at. I'm looking at new construction starts in the past 10 years. In the past 10 years, starting in 2008, which is over 10 years, but I'm only going to 18, is 7, 6, 6, 4, 6, 3, 4, 12, 6, 12. You take that and divide it, it's averaging 6.6.
Has the school been approached with this idea? Yeah.
Yes, and it came back very quickly that they are not interested in it.
I believe it's gonna come back up for discussion tonight, I'm not 100% sure, but in some way, shape, or form, it's gonna come back up for discussion.
The intent was that we have not had any verbal dialogue with them, with that response. So, in discussion is we had hoped to fill you in, explain tonight, and then we will continue to dialogue and then come up with a plan thereafter.
The school district has not been formally approached, let's put it that way.
That's
gonna inform.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would disagree with that.
But I mean, either way, we
We-
decide as a board what we're doing first
Bob-
before we go to them.
Bob Barber reached out to Brad Cox, the superintendent of the schools. Superintendent of the schools brought it up in a finance committee. I believe, and I don't care, I'll say it, I believe that it was presented to the finance committee, which is 3 of the 7 board members only. That it was presented to those 3 members in a, however it was wanted to be presented, and they said that they're not interested, the finance committee. So that's, with their structure of things, that's how it goes. Because it's gotta get through finance committee to make it to the whole board. I think that can change. I think the best thing to do would be if we could do it to where those 7 board members know what we're saying, would be a joint board meeting. Is that, I mean, I don't even know if that's something that can be done with
Bottom line is,
quorums and,
there has to be further dialogue with everybody concerned. And again, the idea was tonight, was to simply lay it on the table to see if this is something you wanna do to try and spark some growth within the village, which in the long term will help everybody. And
right.
that's where we would like to go, is that if you think we'd like to do it, we'll put it on the agenda for further discussion. Between now and then, we'll come up with a game plan to go back, and I think, again, it's more important to have one-on-one dialogue rather than just simple as response, and that's what I would hope we would do. We have to do that with all the taxing bodies or anybody that contributes to the impact fee.
I guess the bottom line is, do you agree to $1,000 building permit? That's basically the question, and we have to figure out how to get there.
I mean, I'll be honest, that sort of scares me dropping it that far, but the more I thought about it, is if we're really trying to, for lack of a better term, shock people to start building in our town, I mean, I think the builders are gonna look at this and be like, that says $1,000, is that correct? And they're gonna be like, oh, wow, it is, you know?
Yeah, the idea was, again, put the idea out there. If you have a consensus of opinion, yes, to keep going with this idea, we'll put the package together, you can think about it, you can ask your questions. I think I would like to see what, let's say, 5 communities around us, Starlight communities, what they do as far as their impact fees, if there are any, if there aren't any, if so, what they are. Don't wanna go into a detail as far as getting it, like we did years ago, just getting an opinion or an idea of what other 5 communities are doing. Even then, we don't have to do what they do, we still think that this is gonna spark growth. And I think, again, we've tried other things in the past, this may be something very, very unique, which may get something off the ground. Just like if you combine the homes that we just approved for Mr. McDonald tonight, that may start something then for a senior home, which don't have to have basements. And a lot of seniors don't want basements. You gotta have storage, we get it, but storage could be up in the garage, whatever. This altogether may spark something, and I think it was a very unique idea that came up today.
10 years ago, I would have fought hard against it because we were growing, but 10 years of history shows that you can charge any fee you want. If you don't collect it, what good is it?
It would be nice if we could find 5 towns around us where there's building going on.
I think we could probably do that, man.
But that, at the same time, has the same challenges as us, being close to the Indiana
Right.
border and
Right,
Yeah.
just,
and
it's just
so
an
on
idea.
and so forth, and size, and, you know, I mean, some of those ones I brought up, right, like, I mean, it's got, you know, you're in this business, so I'm constantly looking at you about this, and I know where you're stationed out of and stuff, but, I mean, all around there, and I mean, I'm constantly working in that area too, is, there's so much growth, but look at the amenities that they have and stuff like that. I mean, our biggest competition is Indiana, right? It's not what services Orland offers, or Homer, or Lamont, or Tinley versus each other, right? Because that's the battle. Why would I move to Tinley and not Orland, or, you know, cost of home and what they offer, amenity-wise as villages. Our competition is Indiana, and my thought is that by doing this, if, in the end of the day, right, we have our battle with them as far as taxes. That's not gonna change. We can sit here and we can gripe about it, we can moan about it, but nothing's gonna change on either end, right? That they're gonna be at a distinct advantage when people look at that. But where we possibly have the ability to change things is how much house you can get for your dollar versus them. As their property values and stuff continue to increase, and what a home's gonna cost them there, yeah, those property taxes are there, but if we, like I said, that's the one part of this cost that we can control for a builder, is to how much house they offer, you know, dollar for square foot. And if you can be competitive on that end of things, that's the only chance we got. If not, we just sit here and, you know, keep sending letters to the developers that, you know, that they gotta mow the vacant lots. Because the weeds are high again, start mowing, you know.
And the
I'd
prices
rather,
of-
I'd rather send them a letter letting them know, hey, here's what the village has done to spur some growth, you know, letting them expect another crab letter about their weeds on their vacant lots. Hey, why don't you start putting some shovels in these vacant lots?
Then the suggestion was made, and I totally agree with it. Mitch, once this is done, he's talking about sending out a letter to all the builders that have been in town, number one. Number two is we should put together a package, an incentive package that has all the enterprise zone, the TIF district, this incentive that we're having here. We should have something to present to somebody that walks in the door and says, here's what we can offer. I've seen several examples of that over the number of years, and I think that's probably something that
Now,
would be.
we had one years ago, remember?
Now that we have something to offer, that more to offer, I think that it's imperative that we advertise this to those folks then.
And even Indiana is competition, you know, depending on your age group, somebody who's closer to retirement, like my husband and I lived over there. Yeah, their taxes are lower, but you're gonna get hit with excise tax on cars. Their income tax is a little bit lower, but they tax his pension, so now you've got the pension tax. For us, we looked at it and it was very little savings for us to go move over there. And now with their new construction, those prices are high. So you're getting cheap property tax, but, new home prices are not cheap over there. They're kind of capitalizing it, and now a lot of that stuff that's being built over on Calumet, that's in Hanover Township School District. One of their schools is landlocked. They're gonna have to start building new schools, those taxes are gonna go up.
And they're, you know, their taxes aren't, you know, it's a matter of that bill every month, right? And, you know, like you said, I mean, their home value, you know, their sale prices are rising. So, is it going into escrow for taxes and insurance, or is it going to P&I, right? I mean, that's the difference, right? Here, you know, your money's probably, your P&I is gonna be a lot lower, but your escrow is gonna be higher for the taxes and that. And there, your taxes are gonna be lower, your escrow payments are gonna be lower for your insurance and your tax payments, and your P&I is gonna be a lot higher than it will be here.
And it's a psychological advantage. Yeah, but look how much more of a house I can afford. Well, you know, the builders charging more for it because they can.
And at the end of the day, if you can reduce it by $12,000 on a $240,000 house, you can actually reduce the cost for the builder on their sale price by 5%. $12,000 on a $240,000 house is 5%.
I actually had a phone call last week from a builder interested in building in Prairie Crossings, and he asked about our tap-in and impact fees. I gave them to him, and he wasn't really happy with them. And he said to me, he goes, well, do you really have any building in town with those fees? And I'm like,
Well, the problem you have is if you can buy the lot for $8,800, the fees are a half that more, just to build.
I think maybe it was an idea in its time that was correct, maybe it's no longer correct, and I think we need to look at it. That being said, is there anybody that's not in favor of taking a look at this?
I'm in favor, I think it's a good idea, because again, we are sitting stagnant. We don't have anything, so perhaps we can make something out of it, and let's be honest, we're financially sound, we're doing really good, but at what point in time, if we don't grow, do we have to consider raising taxes, which none of us wanna do? If we can bring any kind of growth here to help that and stay where we're at, I think the residents would be happy.
You get 0 from empty lots. You get 0 from empty lots.
So, what are you talking about the next step then?
We'll do our research, we'll try and put something together so that you can sit down, look at it, have conversations between now and then we'll bring something before you possibly approve.
We'd have to talk to the school district too, actually.
And then at that time, we'll do our dialogue with everybody
But I
inside.
mean, okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but for me personally, I mean, I don't care what the other 5 towns are doing. What we're doing isn't working.
We understand that, but I also think it's well-informed. You need to be well-informed before you do it. I totally agree with you. But what is the harm of looking what other towns are doing? Other towns may not be doing, maybe doing the exact same thing, no impact fees, and then there's no question whatsoever. We're doing something out of the ordinary we shouldn't be doing, we're killing our growth. That's my point. Bottom line is, we got 2 weeks, why not do research?
Yeah. I'm with you for a couple weeks.
That's all.
But at the same time, there's not a huge sense of urgency on this.
No.
But if this is something that we can do, the marketing value on those lots that are for sale and direction that could possibly go, as far as prospective buyers, I think that the quicker we can make a decision on this, the better, because you got developers, a builder, like, obviously, the first door I think we would knock on would be Old Toff Homes, who's, successfully built about 10 homes in there, since over the last year and a half since they came to us and said, hey, would this help you in making a decision on buying the remainder of these lots, right? I think everybody's been happy with the design of those homes and the presentation that they made. That's the first door you knock on, I think, and the sooner we can do this, the
Totally agree. At the very, very latest, it would be the first meeting in, what is this? It'd be first meeting in
It
September.
would technically fall under Stacy's committee now, it's been assigned to the committee chair, planning
Okay.
and zoning.
And my last part of this is, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, I don't care. I have a concern with how this will be presented to the school board. I don't think that the superintendent is in favor of this, and I think the superintendent is gonna give, an angled opinion and try to influence the school board in the direction that he wants. I'd like to make sure that those 7 school board members know what we're thinking, why we're thinking it, and I'd like for them to hear it out of the horse's mouth directly from us as a cohesive board and unit. And I think anything we can do to, whether it be a joint board meeting, an intergov, and we call everybody together and we say our piece in front of everybody, or however, Mayor, you think it's best, but that would be my last concern on that. It's once we get to that point.
I said that
Just put it
already
out
at
there
the
now.
beginning of the meeting, there needs to be some dialogue, and the dialogue has to come from us to them, not through an email. That's my point. We have to have some dialogue with them,
Okay.
so that they can hear exactly what we're thinking, why we're thinking. We have no idea what they thought, because all we did was get an email. So we need to have some dialogue with them. We don't know what they said, we don't know what they didn't say.
With them, the school board, right?
Yeah.
Not the superintendent.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. Good.
Or we decided to. Okay, on the update in the quiet zone, we have in fact filed all our permits for the quiet zone. We have in fact ordered material, and we are beginning to make a plan on how to institute or implement the quiet zone. My belief would be is the earliest would be first next year, because one, there's a 45 to 60 day permit fee or permit application timeline, and then we have to move the driveway into the granary. Okay, that, it's been suggested, and I wholeheartedly agree, that should not be done until the harvesting season is over. So as soon as the harvesting season is over, if we can get that gravel road in, that's probably gonna be the only hold, otherwise it could have been done maybe faster. But I know Matt has ordered all the product, I know he's talked to the engineer.
Yeah.
Bottom line is we made a substantial step forward, and we just thought we'd tell you at least that for now.
Then we gotta wait
So
for.
the railroad is all okay with
We
it? or-
applied for the permits.
Gotcha.
Okay, and we talked to the railroad, and what we applied for, and what the railroad agreed to. So there shouldn't be any problems with how that goes.
Then you gotta get a flagger and all that stuff.
South Suburban Airport, I had nothing to say until today. It's on the news today, I don't know if you saw it. As an e-commerce airport, I don't know where the story came from, I don't know who prompted the story, but it's actually in the news again today. Goodnow Road Bridge, again, it's still on time for the end of August, unless the weather or something else crops up. I thought it's really, other than that, I have nothing else.
You know what's gonna happen is they'll have that bridge done and then they'll wanna fix the overpass.
The overpass, I was thinking the same thing.
You're right.
I was thinking the same
You're right,
thing.
Scott.
And believe
I've
me,
heard that already, that
we believe
they will not open that.
we have one other item.
In front of everybody,
They
there's
could
a
have just built a new road going through there in all this time.
There's a handout from the Knights of Columbus. They are requesting permission to sell Tootsie Rolls in the village on their 49th annual Intellectual Disabilities Fund Drive. They do this every year, and we get this request every year. The drive will be scheduled for Friday, September 20th through Sunday, September 22nd. They're aware that they can't stand on streets that intersect with Route 1. They generally go in front of businesses, and I have a letter that I sent them that have all the specifics. Wanted to make you aware of this in case anybody had any concerns or questions.
And if none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made, is there a second? Second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Capros?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Mazer? Yes.